How is it going, everybody? It's Christian here, and this is another training for the Library of School of Health. Today, guys, we are going to speak about training, about heart rate, about fat burn, about calorie burns, and all of that good stuff. All right, so for those of you who are new to any one of my courses, remember that these courses are, as well as all kinds of different trainings and PDFs, are available on the Library of School of Health. Okay, and so if you are currently a member of my coaching program, and just know that you got free access to all of this entire thing right here. If you are just watching this course, if you are new here, and if you just watch this course as a one-time kind of thing, then just know that there's other kinds of trainings that you get access to, okay, with a certain monthly membership. Okay, so just let me know if you'd like to get access to all the other courses. All right, so today, the title of our course is How to Manipulate Heart Rate Zones for Maximum Fat Burn During Cardio. Okay, and so I really just want to start with explaining and clarifying the title first. Okay, it's only for cardio. All right, the way in which your body utilizes fat or burns fat or any kinds of other sources of energy through other kinds of activities such as weightlifting, strength training is different than cardio. But today we are going to speak about cardio simply because, well, everybody kind of loves cardio. All right, and so we are going to be going through a few very useful points today. I'm actually pretty excited about this course because we are going to dive deep as well as look at things from a very non-scientific perspective. And again, because that's always my goal, I always want to make things as digestible as possible for you guys to understand. Okay, so we're gonna basically look at the different sources of energies that your body uses, the process of turning food into usable energy, and how it stores it as fat, how to teach your body to use fat as fuel, and how to identify the heart rate zones and switch between them. And lastly, we're going to look at how to calculate your ideal heart rate. Okay, pretty cool stuff. So let's rock and roll right away with the first part. So we need to first give a little bit of context. I'm not going to directly jump into the heart rate zones and how fat burn works. I think it's really important that we get a better understanding of first our body's main sources of energies during any sort of physical activities, either that is light activity or intensive activities. And so we got the carbohydrates, and then we got the fats. Okay, just a quick general knowledge about carbohydrates. If you look at them as a molecule, then carbohydrates are actually kind of slightly smaller compared to fats. Okay, because as you can see, 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So that means that fats are actually way much more bigger than carbohydrate. All right, remember this information right here for later on in the course, because I will re-mention this exact thing right here to help you guys understand a little bit more how the lesson works. Okay, so how our body works is that every day it always decides to switch between either fats or carbohydrates based on the intensity of a certain activity. All right, your body is a smart machine, and the only few roles of your body are to thrive, to survive, and to procreate. And in order for your body to push and to support you in any of those activities, it is going to utilize and put in place all kinds of settings, all kinds of processes inside your body, which usually requires energy. Okay, and so your body chooses either carbs or fats to do that. There's other kinds of energy, but we're really gonna, as I said, we're really gonna keep it surface level and as simple as possible today for you. All right, now, after we understand energy, the common misbeliefs that usually I need to coach somebody on and kind of explain to somebody is the kind of thoughts such as, hey, if I sweat, it's the fat that's going away, so I need to work and to just run like a freaking hamster on a wheel. A fat burn workout will make me lose fat. If I burn X amount of calories, then that means that it's all the burgers that I ate earlier. And I wish it was as easy as that. Like, if it was as easy as the fact of eating something, then running right away to burn off what you just ate, then best believe everybody will look freaking good. But it's not the case, because it's just not how it works, okay? The process of transforming food in energy and calories to burn and calories to use through all kinds of physical activities is slightly more complex than the sole fact of, hey, I ate this, so I'm gonna burn it right away, or I'm sweating and I'm feeling like I'm getting my ass kicked, so that means I'm definitely losing fat. It's not how it works, okay? And so, to actually give you explanation of how things work, we need to firstly look at how digestion itself works. Okay, let's imagine that you are eating a meal with rice, with chicken, with broccolis, with eggs. Okay, so this is supposed to be broccolis, by the way, guys, but it's lettuce. I wasn't able to find an exact matching emoji when I was designing this course. Okay, so let's imagine, all right, that you have eaten this meal. Okay, so digestion starts when you see this food. Okay, digestion starts as soon as you see this food. It's visual contact. All right, people think that digestion starts when the food hits your stomach, but the process of digestion is initiated as soon as there is visual contact between you and food. Okay, when there's that visual contact, your brain sends signals to your body, and your brain gets your body ready to produce saliva and what you call bile and all kinds of digestive enzymes, so that your body absorbs and processes that food better. Okay, you're gonna eat that food, you're gonna chew that food, it's gonna go through your throat, and then it's gonna go all the way down here inside your stomach, and this is where a process of processing and selection of the food happens. This is usually where your body detects, hey, what do I need, what do I not need, what is good for me, what is bad for me. Okay, and so the bad stuff, obviously your body rejects it. Your body is either going to store it into its large intestine, if I'm not wrong, for pooping out later on, or your body is going to vomit, your body is going to throw it out if it's something disgusting, and all kinds of ways. Okay, we all know, okay, we all go to the toilets, we all pee and all kinds of things, so we know how this works. The useful stuff then that your body detects, it is going to absorb it, okay, and it is going to afterward transform it to kind of go through a little bit of some form of processing, so that the food is going to either go into your storage, or it is either going to be utilized right away. All right, so basically, to make it really simple, as every time you eat a certain type of food, no matter the food, then it goes through three different processes. It either gets rejected, it either gets utilized, it either gets stored, or both. It either gets both stored and utilized at the same time. Okay, let's talk more about how the process of rejection happens. So again, as I mentioned earlier, rejection happens when or if your body has extracted everything that it needed, and that some food were just, it's like the NBA draft. You select the best players for the team, and the players that you think are not exactly at that level that you want, well, you wish them good luck and come back next year, or never come back. That's how your body utilizes and processes every food that you consume. Your body selects the best agents, the best minerals, the best proteins, the best nutrients, and your body absorbs that, and your body's gonna send that to your muscles. Your body's gonna send that into your cells, your organs, your blood, all kinds of things. And then the stuff that your body doesn't need, your body just pretty much tell them to screw off, bye, out of my system. All right. And again, rejection happens if food has compromised your stomach. All right. Storage happens if your body detects useful nutrients. Again, NBA draft, you have identified which players are the best ones for you, so you want to have those players at all costs. And storage also happens if some nutrients have been absorbed in a large and excessive amount, aka caloric surplus. I'll give more details about this very soon, but let's just clarify how things works. And then utilization happens when your body does any sort of activity, because again, your body, as I said, go through all kinds of processes to regulate everything that happens inside, to keep your blood flowing, to keep your heart beating, to keep your hormones producing, to keep you breathing, all kinds of things for which it always needs a certain form of fuel. So that's why this process right here is actually so important. If you get a messed up digestive system, then that's already going to be a huge roadblock towards you becoming healthier. Because if you get a messed up digestive system, then that basically means that your body will do a shitty job at getting you rid of the shitty nutrients, and your body is also going to do a crappy job at utilizing the useful nutrients. It is not going to detect them because of the simple fact that it does not have the required enzymes or the required probiotics or prebiotics to pretty much work on those things. And if your digestive system is crappy, then your body will not know how to utilize the stuff that it's stored. Okay, so digestion is really important, guys. All right, now moving on to the storage part, we are going to go slightly deep into this. Okay, so there are really two different ways through which storage of food happens. All right, so most of the time, whatever you eat is usually always going to be comprised of those. It's going to be some protein, it's going to be some carbs, it's going to be some fats, vitamins, minerals, etc., alcohol, all kinds of things. Okay, anything that you consume, and again that has passed the draft, that have been identified as useful stuff for your body, are going to either go into your cells and organs to directly get to work, or they are going to go into your cells, organs, and some of them will get under your skin in the form of fat or water or muscles if you have had an excess amount of them. I'm going to repeat again, because sometimes we might eat in a caloric maintenance or deficit. Sometimes we might eat the exact amount of food that we need or slightly less that we need. So when that happens, then your body actually is directly going to try to do its best with those things that you eat, and is going to directly put them into work. Sometimes we might eat in the caloric surplus, we might eat slightly more than what we actually need in a day, and so your body, with all of that extra fuel, is going to allocate some of the agents and some of those things into your organs, etc., to try to ensure the essential functions. And then when it sees that you have a little bit of a surplus, it is going to store the additional fuel under your skin for rainy days. Okay, and then your body will select which form of storage it will utilize. This is again when your body does any kinds of activities, it will see which form of storage it likes. Is it the ones that are in your cells, or is it the ones that are under your skin? And to pretty much explain you how this process of selection works, we are going to go into the next slide, in which we basically explain how the utilization works. So let's just think of yourself as a rich person, and that you have 2 bank accounts. I believe that rich people have many other bank accounts, but we're gonna keep it simple. Let's imagine that you got 2 bank accounts. Okay, you got one account for emergency and last resort stuff. Okay, this is pretty much when the end of the world comes or COVID comes, and that you need, and that, I don't know, when you need a surgery, you have some accident, and you just need to like really save your life. And then you got the second account, which is for the daily life account. This is when you wake up, you want to order some coffee, when you want to do some groceries. This is the daily account that you're always going to use every day. All right, so if you're smart enough, okay, which I believe you are because you're watching this, then every time you earn money, you will put money in both accounts. But you will only use money from the daily account on a daily basis. Okay, if you're smart. All right. Jokes aside, you will start to use the emergency and last resort account only if this account right here gets screwed, gets emptied, gets hacked or whatever, or again, as I said, some dangerous thing happens and that you need all of your resource ASAP. All right. So the daily life account is the one that you usually use, and the emergency account is the one that you use for emergency when the daily life account is completely empty. Does that make sense? So the way that your body actually selects the storage of energy that it uses is the same thing too. Okay, it will always use the energy that is stored as daily life energy aka the energy that is in your cells, in your organs, and everything else, the energy that is ready. And if you ever start to lack of that energy, your body will then start to tap into the emergency energy, which is the energy that is under its skin. Okay, so your body burns fat when it uses the daily life energy. Your body loses fat when you make it tap into the emergency energy. Okay, let's go back real quick to this thing, just so we can clearly understand exactly how it works. So, there is two different ways that your body stores energy. The first way is this. It's inside your blood. It's inside everything. It's ready to use. Okay? So this is basically the daily use energy. And then this is the emergency energy, the under your skin, the actual fat that you're not happy with, that you grab and that you feel insecure about. The thing about your body is that it is so smart that it is always going to keep this thing away and keep storing it for as much as it can, and your body will still keep using this type of energy right here. So if you really want to tap into the body fat or the water that is stored in your under skin, then you need to ensure that you are into a caloric deficit. You need to ensure that you are intentionally eating way less food than what your body truly needs and what your body is able to store. That's the only way. I needed to clarify this because of the simple fact that the whole burn fat and lose fat thing, there's just two ways in which it happens. You either burn fat as the source of energy that's stored in your body, or you actually lose the fat that is the fat that you can touch, that is the fat under the adipose tissue. And caloric deficit is the way to actually identify and to decide what and also in which way we actually want to lead our body's ways of utilizing energy. Okay, so now that it's all clear and now that we understand how the whole fat burn, fat storage, fat loss, caloric deficit versus surplus work, we're gonna speak about the heart rate zones. Okay, so to first start, we really just want to determine our maximum heart rate. Okay, it's really important for the next steps. Okay, you want to determine basically the highest that you can reach with your heart, the hardest you can breathe without dying. That's the maximum heart rate. Okay, and so the option number one is a very simple one, which is a rule of thumb to pretty much use your age and subtract it from 220. So let's imagine that I'm 30 years old. I'm 29, but 30 is actually just easier to use. Okay, I'm 30 years old and I'm gonna do minus 220, and that's 190. My estimate max heart rate will be around 190, which is pretty accurate because whenever I train and whenever I do any sort of HIIT workouts, that's usually where I go. Sometimes I reach 200 BPM, which feel like death, but this is pretty accurate for me personally. Okay. The next test is very simple and actually more practical, mostly if you don't have a watch, and it is to wear if you have a watch, you actually need to have a watch for this one. Wear your fitness tracker, okay, around your hand, and go for the fastest and the most powerful sprint ever for 15 seconds. Act as if a dinosaur was behind you trying to eat your ass out, okay? And you need to save your life. You're gonna run as fast as possible, and while you run away from this dinosaur, try to keep your eyes on your watch as well, and don't trip while you do that, because that will be nasty. You'll end up being eaten out, basically. Okay, so the maximum and the highest that your heart rate goes during that sprint, the peak is usually the closest estimate of your heart rate. And I like this better because this is really close to reality. This is really close to what you truly do, okay? Compared to just doing a simple rule of thumb that might be wrong, that might be right, okay? And then after that, you pretty much use that value, the 190, to figure out the ideal heart rate for each cardio zone. Okay, so ideally, if my maximum heart rate is 180, then if I want to make sure that I'm in cardio zone 1, I'm going to take the 50% of this. If I want to make sure that I'm into cardio zone 2, I'm going to take the 60% of the maximum heart rate. For zone 3, it is going to be between 70 to 80% of the maximum heart rate. For zone 4, it is going to be 80% to 90%. And then for zone 5, it's going to be 90% to 100% of this heart rate right here. But one reason why I don't really like this whole calculation thing is that it's, again, calculations. I'm not the type to believe in calculations. You always need to take this with a grain of salt, okay? But I'll explain more later. In the next slide, I'm going to show you guys now how the whole concept, how the whole energy burn and calorie burns and fat burns work. So in zone 1, okay, as you can see here, the fat storages, the fat energy are the blue circles, and then carbs are the triangles. So in zone 1, it's usually all fat. In zone 2, it's still all fat, and there's more fat utilized because you start to breathe slightly harder here, okay? In zone 3, you start to really breathe super hard, but it's still kind of sustainable-ish. So there's going to be less fat, and your body is going to require an additional source of fuel, a more powerful one, a more easier to use, which is the carbs. When you move into zone 4, your body just cannot keep oxidizing fat. Your body cannot keep utilizing fat. It will prefer to switch to a more faster and also a more prominent source of energy, which is the carb. So in zone 4, you actually start to like really burn close to no fat at all, and you start to really just utilize all of the energy stored from carbs, which what we call glycogen. In zone 5, this is pretty much the death zone. This is where you pretty much question your life choices, and there's just no fat metabolism that happened at all in here. Carbs are your preferred source of fuel when you reach zone 5 cardio, all right? So the more intense, demanding, and unsustainable an activity gets, the more carbs your body needs, all right? The easier and more sustainable an activity is, the more fats your body will be burning and utilizing, all right? And again, this might be mind-blowing for some, but it makes sense because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this course, was that carbs, if you look at them in the form of a molecule, they are like this, and fats are like this, bigger, 2 times bigger. Okay, this was slightly too big, but you get what I'm trying to say here. So when your body does not feel, and again, your body is only made to thrive, survive, and to reproduce, and to pretty much avoid you from dying. So when your body believes that the level of energy and the level of effort that you do are not as dangerous, are not as stressful, and are not as taxing and demanding, then out of the 2 sources of fuels, your body will utilize the fats because, well, it's pretty much, it takes more time to be broken down, and your body can afford to take that time. Okay, it's a big source of energy that your body can slowly pull out of. All right. Now, the harder and the more demanding your activity gets, your body is starting to get like, oh shit, what is going on here? This big molecule of fat right here takes me too much time to break down. I need to look at something smaller. All right. So that's why the difference in sizes were important. Okay, so now instead of burning out fat as a source of fuel, your body will look for something quicker and easier to burn so that you basically don't die out of all of your HIIT workouts. Because this is basically the heart rate zone that you reach whenever you do any form of HIIT, high intensity activity training, right? Which is really what pisses me off about the whole weight loss community, about the whole high intensity training community. You got all those people labeling workouts like such as fat burn workout, fat loss workout. No, shut the hell up. It doesn't make sense, and it's very misleading to me, because when you look at the heart rate zones in which everybody gets whenever they go through a high intensity workouts, everybody at least bare minimum, everybody reaches zone 4. But most of the time, we usually are all at zone 5, okay? There is nobody who will do a 1 minute of burpee, okay? And who will potentially think that they are only between zone 3 and zone 1 cardio, between the soft zone and burning fat as fuel. All those fat burn workouts are misleading because of the simple fact that what truly happens when you train very hard during these workouts and when you breathe your life out, when you question your life choices, you're here. Okay, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, which is where carb is the most preferred source of fuel that your body utilizes and not fat. Okay, moving on. Now, the next thing to keep in mind is to not rely solely on your fitness tracker to get an idea of your heart rate, okay? Because you might look at all of this like, hey, zone 3, 70% to 80% of my maximum heart rate. You might be looking at it every time just for you to make sure that, hey, I'm still in the appropriate heart rate zone, and I think that's not a life, okay? I don't think you should be working out and always checking up something just to make sure that you are actually doing what you're supposed to do, and also because of the simple fact that the fitness wearables have been shown by studies to have 10% to 20% error, freaking French accent, error, god damn it, a margin of mistake, okay? I'm tired of myself sometimes. So, what I'm trying to say is, you could be watching your fitness tracker, you could be tracking your heart rate on the screen of a bootcamp class or a CrossFit class or whatever, and you could think to yourself, oh, I'm in zone 5, zone 3, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, you might be slightly higher than whatever you watch is saying, or you might be slightly lower than whatever you watch is saying. So that's another reason why we don't want to necessarily trust or rely too much on what the watch tells us. And also because, as for me personally, from experience, I know that many people just don't have fitness wearables. And so what do you do if you don't have fitness wearables and that you'd like to pay attention to your heart rate zones? I got you covered. All right, so here is how to estimate your heart rate without a fitness tracker. Oops, I shouldn't have put this like this. So this is like the most easiest representation of what I said earlier of the different intensities. Okay, so as you can see, between a slow walk until a sustainable jog, okay, it's usually fats that you are oxidating. I'm not sure what's the proper word, but you pretty much turn fat into breathable oxygen. That's what's going on between zone 3 and between zone 1 and between zone 3. Then when you reach zone 3, from zone 3 all the way until zone 5, this is where carbs start to take over, because this is where the activity becomes less and less sustainable. Zone 1 is basically you just going for a stroll at the park. It's pretty much the rate at which your heart starts to beat, the speed at which your heart starts to beat, if you would just get out of bed and start to become more active. That's it. Zone 1 is pretty much what we do almost every day. Zone 2 is when you start to, when you're late for work, okay, and that you got a busted knee, so you cannot run, but you try to just walk as fast as you can so you don't get fired, and that you get to work on time. That's pretty much what zone 2 is about. It's kind of like you walk, you're almost jogging, but it's still not a jog, okay? Kind of like start to breathe slightly harder, but you'll still be able to hold the conversation with someone if one of your colleagues was also together with you, being late with you. Zone 3 is basically sustainable jogs. This is where you start to run, but it is still very sustainable. It is not necessarily exhausting. It's something that you can do for hours, right? That's pretty much zone 3 cardio. And this is why you actually see that many marathon runners are usually very skinny, because they usually stay between zone 3 and sometimes only they go into zone 4. Sometimes when they want to speed it up and catch up with their with the other competitors, they would go into zone 4. But most of the time, they try to be as sustainable as possible, which burns all the fat, as well as muscle too. That's actually what cardio does, but that's gonna be maybe a discussion for another course. Okay, now, so basically, if you want to burn fat, then you need to stick between an activity level that makes you breathe harder, but that don't make you feel like you're about to die. When you start to go into, the super intensive activities where you go super hard and where you feel like you need to rest, otherwise you're gonna throw up, where you go super hard and you feel like you're about to give up, but you keep going because you're no pain, no gain, then there's less fat utilization that happens in this zone. It's more carbs, sugar, glycogen, ATP, all of that good stuff. Okay, so that's really the easiest way for you to know how to identify your heart rates. If it is super hard and if you're getting your ass kicked, you question your life choices, then that's definitely the most highest heart rate. Okay, again, this is only for cardio, guys. Do not confuse this for weightlifting or strength training. It's very different things. I might do another course about that. But basically, to make it really simple, anything, whenever it comes to weightlifting, is also naturally carbs. Okay, that's the thing with weightlifting, because it utilizes an energy that is stored in your muscles, because it's your muscles that are working. So to make it really simple, okay. But with cardio, that's really how things work. Okay, if you are able to breathe and keep the activity going, then chances are you are in the appropriate zones to burn fat. And again, it is burn fat but not lose fat. The fact that you will lose fat and start to slim down and see body composition changes is purely depending on, are you eating in a caloric maintenance or are you eating in a caloric deficit. But if you are eating in a caloric surplus, then you will not see change. Your body will just be flushing out and pretty much going through a cycle of utilizing and reutilizing everything that you get inside. Okay. So yeah, this is it. If maximizing fat burn is your goal, then here is the ideal workout format for you. And this is why I like walk and steps goals so much, guys. This is because basically when you walk and also when you start to walk fast, you are exactly in this zone right here, which is really the best zone to burn some calories, to burn fat, and to not even feel like you are stressing your body out, to not even, it's a very friendly zone. It's friendly for your joints, it's friendly for everything. It is not gonna kick your ass, it is not gonna make you feel like life is hard and that you are about to give up. That's why I love step counts so much, and that almost most of you, if any members of the academy, the one-on-one coaching program, are watching this, that's why I insist so much on steps sometimes whenever it comes to body transformation. All right, jogs, I like jogs too, but I wouldn't abuse them, because again, as I said earlier, they have a certain component of raising your cortisols, and cortisol is a direct antagonist of testosterone, and is a direct antagonist of muscle building signals too. So it's not really my favorite one right here. But still, if really you just want to lose fat and be thinner, and if you don't care about looking good and toned and muscular, then go ahead. This is good for you. All right. So the key takeaways, guys, is that the fat burn hit workouts need to be taken with a grain of salt and need to be approached with a grain of salt. Anyone that tells you that you can burn fat by going and shooting your heart rate through the roof is somebody that just did not do the necessary research, and is somebody that just believes in all the hype that is being shared and spread out there, such as, hey, if I feel the burn, then it's the fat that is burning. Hey, if I'm sweating and if I'm whatever, then that means it's the fat that is going out. It's not exactly how things work, guys. Because again, if it was that easy, let's just have some common sense here. If it was that easy as running through a wall, as easy as sweating or peeing, and as easy as pretty much just going for hundreds of workouts, then there would not be any obesity problem in the world. But it's not that easy, because it's pretty much not how things work in the reality. Okay, so walking and jogging are the true fat burners, with that said. But again, fat burn is different from fat loss. All right, caloric deficit is still what truly creates fat loss. Okay, so do not be too confused with all the fat burn thing out there. Working out for the sake of burning calories is a lost cause, because your fitness tracker might be misleading you. Fitness trackers are known for having a certain margin of mistake, so it might overestimate or underestimate what you're burning, right? So when you say, hey, I burn 800 calories, you might actually be burning less, so don't show off. You might be burning more, so that's also something to consider, okay? So, working out cannot be seen as just a process of burning calories, simply because workout is way much more bigger and way much more important than just burning calories or just burning what you ate. Because now, after watching this course, I believe that you understand exactly how this whole process right here works. Okay, guys, and that's it for me for today. So I hope this course was valuable. Do not hesitate to ask any questions. Do not hesitate to comment what you think of this course, and let me know what new thing you have learned, and if any sort of any parts of this course have challenged your belief in some way, have taught you some more valuable stuff to utilize during your training. I would love to hear back from you. Until next course, have a good one. Peace out.